So the interesting thing about this big sci-fi blockbuster is I think a lot of people have misconceptions about that genre. You know, they watch people running around in leather underwear, wielding swords and shooting lasers, and they don't realize that there's a real human element to the movie, especially to your character. And I'm kind of curious about how you keep it human. How do you make it human?
Well, I think that what motivates my character is wanting to kill everybody and take over the world, and I think that's
very human.
But that's what I experience every morning, you know, round about the first coffee, and and it also is exactly what my two-year-old son is all about. So I'd sort of basically copied him, and my character Sabthan gets given the greatest weapon of all that anyone's ever seen, the Thurn gun, and with which he can destroy the world, but he's not allowed to because of this man on his shoulder who's stopping him. And I think we all remember that when Dad wouldn't let us fire that gun.
Oh, so more specifically, how does your child want to take over the world? Is that the case?
Oh, of course, yeah. All children do. I mean, well, he wants to kill everybody and take over the world. Yeah.
And when you're in this big sci-fi movie, I mean, it's a lot of imagination. Does it come from taking yourself back to being a kid? Is that what it's about?
I suppose so. I mean, it's particularly, you know, my character, he is the villain, but he is a stooge, really, and he's a guy who's had, you know, whose style is being cramped by this almighty power, played by Mark Strong, who sits on my shoulder the whole time. And what I liked about it was that you could get very human feelings of irritation and frustration that this guy was stopping you using your gun, which is not something people of Arizona would be used to, people stopping them use their guns, but from Europe it's...
Ooh. Getting a little political there. And it's interesting because you have a big theater background, and we were talking yesterday about how Shakespeare may have played it comes into being epic and grand. Do you feel like you can make anything grand now? Is that something about cadence? Is that performing?
Well, the skill is to make the grand not grand, to make it you know, intimate and personal and human, and that was. How
do you do that?
Well, it's highly skilled, and if I told you, I'd have to kill you. No, it's yeah. That's really what I was trying to say. Was that just not that the dialogue in John Carter is grand at all, but necessarily if you're in an epic film, you're dealing with epic things, and therefore the speech and the actions have to be epic, and the trick is to try and make that not something that's distant and unrelatable, but something that people can relate to.
Gotcha. And, you know, you've done comic book movies, you've done these big sci-fi movies. Is there something, and they all have niche audiences that really obsess them, we love them. Is there something that you're obsessed with in that kind of way, or a certain type of movie or theater or anything that you nerd out about?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think there is, but I don't know. I ask any nerd; they probably wouldn't they wouldn't know what they were nerding about. But
I have the same problem, though.
Yeah. What's your nerdy?
Oh God, John Carter of Mars.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Good question. Good answer. I don't know. I was always obsessed with James Bond, but I think that. Well, actually, I'm really looking forward to the next one coming out. But I suppose that's carried on since my childhood.